Standing on the edge of a cliff, Jamie, an 11-year-old boy, felt the salty breeze whip against his skin, mingling with the ocean's roar echoing below. It was a cacophony that mirrored the storm brewing inside his chest, a tempest of emotions he could hardly name but desperately felt. The waves crashed against the jagged rocks, relentless and unyielding, and with each surge, Jamie contemplated the idea of simply vanishing, just as his father had done years ago. There was a loneliness that wrapped around him like a shroud, numbing and cold, amplifying the laughter and camaraderie resonating from the foster home behind him. It was as if he were invisible, a ghost wandering through a world filled with vibrant colors, yet stuck in grayscale. He held tightly to a frayed piece of rope, a makeshift tether to a past he barely remembered. In that moment, as he gazed out at the horizon stretching infinitely before him, yearning welled deep inside, an ache for connection and understanding that seemed unreachable. Whispers floated through the air, the fragments of stories shared by strangers who had known his father, painting a portrait of a man Jamie had only glimpsed through faded memories and the tales of others. Each voice felt like a reminder of the piece missing from his life, an invitation to dive deeper into the ocean of his father's history. But Jamie stood still, immobilized by the weight of what it all meant. As if driven by an unseen force, he took a step away from the cliff's edge, brushing off the gritty sand underfoot. He ventured further along the rugged coastal path, each footfall leading him away from the laughter of children and into the embrace of solitude that he had become accustomed to. The air shifted, thick with the scent of salt and mystery. It wasn't long before he stumbled upon a secluded beach where the sand glimmered beneath the sunlight, oddly inviting. That's when he saw it. Half buried in the soft, warm sand, a weathered old boat, its hull battered and bruised by the relentless tides. Curiosity ignited within him as he approached, drawn like a moth to a flame. There was something about the boat that spoke to him, a shared language of abandonment. With cautious hands, Jamie pulled away the sand, revealing its forgotten treasure. Inside the boat, he found an old rusty chest, its lid creaking painfully as he pried it open, heart racing with anticipation. What lay within held the promise of discovery, a cache of items that once belonged to his father. A compass, its needle trembling yet steadfast, tattered maps of the coastline, where aspirations of adventure were tangled with threads of loss and glinting pieces of jewelry, each item steeped in a legacy that still echoed through time. In that fragile moment of revelation, a spark of hope ignited within Jamie, burning away the shadows of solitude that had long clouded his existence. Yet as joyous as this discovery was, an unshakable heaviness lingered in his heart. He was desperate to share this journey, this unraveling of the mystery, with someone else, a friend, a confidant, but loneliness had become a familiar companion, haunting his every thought. Jamie's heart ached with the familiar pull of invisibility, but a quiet promise began to form within him. If you too have felt this ache of invisibility, consider liking and subscribing, for Jamie's story may resonate with countless others who wander through life feeling unseen and unheard. In the presence of the old chest and its relics of a life he longed to understand, Jamie realized this journey was just beginning, and he could no longer remain a mere spectator of his own life. He felt poised on the edge of something transformative, ready to stitch together the fragments of a past shadowed by sorrow as he ventured into the depths of the uncharted waters of his father's life. As Jamie sat in the old boat, the items surrounding him whispered of a past he longed to explore. Each object found in the rusty chest carried the weight of memories, and the thrill of discovery danced with the familiar ache of loss. His father's absence pressed heavily on his small shoulders, intensifying the solitude that had enveloped him for years. The compass, though a token of adventure, felt like a bittersweet reminder of the man who had vanished, leaving Jamie to navigate life without guidance. Memories flickered in his mind, shining a fragile light on the warmth of the days spent with his father. He could still see them together at the edge of the beach, collecting shells, laughter mingling with the ocean's roar. Those memories, vivid yet ephemeral, were tinged with bittersweet nostalgia, always carrying with them the unshakable knowledge that those moments were all too brief. After his father's disappearance, Jamie was left to wander through the maze of foster homes, never quite fitting in and losing himself among a sea of unfamiliar faces. It was as if he were trapped in a world where he existed only in the periphery, invited to the celebrations but never truly partaking in the joy. In those homes, children played and laughed, love radiating from them like sunlight, while Jamie sat in silence, the warmth of companionship just out of reach. The meals shared with his peers were mundane. each bite tasting like the second-hand memories of others. He would lie awake in thin beds, lost in thoughts that spiraled into self-doubt and longing, wishing for a connection that always seemed to elude him. The echoes of laughter in the hallways only deepened his conviction that he was invisible. Jamie leaned back in the boat, looking up at the sky, yearning for answers. The compass began to lose its meaning as dark clouds gathered. Questions haunted him. Why had his father disappeared? Why had he left him? Each inquiry felt like a stone in his heart, heavy with confusion and pain. Strangers whispered tales of his father, weaving myths that only deepened the chasm of his absence. They spoke of a man who had been adventurous but broken, someone who had built dreams only to watch them crumble, and Jamie wished he could understand more, to peel back the layers and find the truth hidden beneath the facade of heroism. As he sifted through the contents of the chest, his fingers grazed the tattered maps, showing coastlines and destinations he could only dream of exploring. Lines drawn through time called to him, and with each trace, he imagined his father's own journeys, not just the physical ones across the shimmering waters, but also those emotional quests where the heart battles loneliness and longing. It was there, in the crinkled pages of a journal he found resting quietly, that Jamie felt the threads of connection begin to weave between their worlds. With trembling hands, he opened the journal. His father's words leapt from the pages, a rich tapestry of dreams and struggles. The entries painted pictures of sailing at dawn, of nighttime escapades under a blanket of stars, and yet they were interspersed with moments of despair and yearning for a life that felt just beyond his reach. Each line emerged like a wave crashing into the shore, a collision between hope and heartbreak. Jamie read about his father's aspirations to return, a wish that remained unfulfilled, tangled in a web of regrets and burdens. This juxtaposition of joy and sorrow mirrored Jamie's own life. In his father's writings, he recognized the same yearning, an echo of his own feelings of abandonment and longing. The connection felt profound, almost tangible, and for the first time, Jamie saw himself reflected in this man he had never known, a man who had faced the depths of his own loneliness but had still reached for the stars. Finding this connection served as both a balm and a catalyst within Jamie, illuminating a path ahead. Suddenly, he came across a passage mentioning a woman whose name sent ripples of emotions through him, a name he instinctively recognized as his mother's. It hit him with an intensity that left him breathless, sparking a whirlwind of questions within him. Who was she? What had she done? Had she known about him? Each question washed over him like the waves of the ocean, urging him to keep digging deeper, to continue unraveling this intricate tapestry spun from love and loss. With determination surging in his heart, Jamie vowed not to remain a passive observer in his own narrative any longer. He would not be defined solely by his father's disappearance or his own feelings of invisibility. This journey had begun with a chest full of memories lost to time, and now it became a quest for understanding and healing. Jamie would seek answers, not only to uncover the mysteries of his father's life, but also to discover the strength he carried within himself. As he closed the journal, a sense of purpose emerged from the depths of his heart. That day, on the secluded beach, amid the items left behind by a man he yearned to know, Jamie committed to piecing together the fragments of his family's story. He understood that in lifting the veil of silence, he could construct a narrative not centered on loss, but on resilience and connection, one where his voice would thrive amidst the challenges he faced. The hope that once felt distant now shimmered brightly, illuminating the way forward, guiding him toward healing and a future woven from the love he always craved. With his heart set on finding the answers he sought, Jamie found himself returning to the beach each day, the salty breeze a constant reminder of the mystery he was determined to unravel. The old boat had become his refuge, the treasure within it serving not only as a connection to his father, but also as a beacon of hope as he faced the weight of solitude. The journal he had discovered became a guide, illuminating his father's past while igniting Jamie's own desire to explore the worlds once dreamed of in ink and memories. One day, as the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden glow over the shoreline, Jamie pieced together clues from the journal entries that mentioned a coastal town where his father had spent his youth. This town, painted vividly through his father's words, held the promise of answers, filling Jamie with a renewed sense of urgency to explore. His bicycle felt like a vessel as he embarked on the journey, each pedal propelling him closer to a piece of his family's story. The town embraced him upon arrival, its cobblestone streets and charming storefronts reflecting stories of laughter and loss. The fragrant air mingled with salt, enveloping him in an atmosphere that felt simultaneously new and familiar. It was as if the memories from the journal flowed through the very fabric of the town, brushing his skin and whispering promises of connection. Jamie's first stop was a small shop mentioned in the journal, a quaint place filled with nautical memorabilia and whispers of history. As he stepped through the door, the soft chime of the bell above him cut through the air, and an older woman behind the counter looked up, her eyes kind and knowing. Jamie felt a lump form in his throat as he gathered his courage, stammering out his question. "Do you know Jack Carson?" Recognition flickered in her eyes, and her face softened. "Jack?" "Of course," she said, a smile gracing her lips even as a trace of sadness seeped through. She spoke fondly of Jamie's father, painting portraits of his character and spirit, a man who had chased waves and dreams alike but who had also learned to navigate heartache. He was always seeking something, a connection perhaps, she added, her voice low. Each story the woman shared enveloped Jamie, enveloping him like a cherished blanket. He heard tales of Jack's kindness, moments where he saved others from peril and experiences filled with laughter under the stars. However, mixed within those bright memories were shadowy accounts of love lost, and the longing that Jack had carried for someone special. Jamie listened intently, his heart swelling with emotions he hadn't acknowledged before. His father was a hero, woven with strands of sadness much like the fabric of Jamie's own life. A flicker of intrigue sparked when the woman spoke of Jack's love, a woman whose name was whispered through the years as if held sacred. Jamie felt an ache in his chest that mirrored the stories unfolding before him. He loved deeply, and he waited for her, she said softly. But sometimes love isn't enough to bridge the distance. With every word, Jamie felt layers of understanding forming around the fog of his confusion. His father wasn't an absent figure in his life purely out of choice. He was a man who had once hoped for connection too. This revelation loosening a knot of resentment inside him, he understood that he wasn't just searching for his father. He was also experiencing the universal dance of love and loss. As he stepped out of the shop, Jamie felt revitalized, tethered through a red thread of fate to the man whose struggles echoed his own. His journey was less about discovering the man, and more about recognizing the threads that connected them both as dreamers in a world rife with challenges. With purpose guiding him, Jamie explored the town, soaking in every detail. The salty air, the laughter of children playing by the shore, and the calm waves crashing against the rocks, each moment breathing life into the stories of hope that cradled his heart. He wandered down to the waterfront, sitting on a weathered bench to reflect. The evening sun began to descend, casting a warm glow on the shimmering water, each ripple whispering fragments of hope. Jamie felt a sense of peace wash over him, merging with the awakening realization that he was carving out his own legacy. As he watched the sunset, he made a silent promise. He would honor the love his father had held for his mother and the longing that had bound their lives. He would embrace the connections he discovered, in the love littered through the pages and in the heartbeats of the people in this town. Returning home that evening, Jamie was no longer the lonely boy grappling with abandonment. He had stepped into a new chapter of his life, one filled with stories and connections. With each day that passed, he felt more rooted in a tapestry of love woven from both joy and sorrow, an intricate design that was as much his own as it was his father's. He was ready to let go of the shadows of his past and step into a future where the legacy of connection would echo proudly in every heartbeat and dream he chased. Jamie's return to the familiar solitude of his room felt different now. The early evening shadows danced across the walls, morphing into silhouettes that seemed to pulse with stories waiting to be told. He could still feel the warmth of the town's acceptance, the tales shared with the elderly woman, and the sun-splashed moments spent contemplating life by the waves. But along with joy came a deeper sense of longing for answers, pushing him to seek the truth about his father's past, particularly the woman whose name echoed through the journal, his mother. Each night, under the dim light of his bedside lamp, Jamie pored over the journal's pages again, retracing his father's words with a more profound understanding. The tales of shipwrecks, brave rescues, and lost treasures carried an urgency he hadn't perceived before. They morphed from distant memories into urgent whispers that dared him to uncover the connections buried within those lines. But the mention of his mother tugged relentlessly at his heart. Who was she? Why had she left? Was she still alive? The questions gnawed at him like waves relentlessly crashing against the shore, demanding answers. Deciding he could no longer postpone his search, Jamie resolved to follow the trail left by those fleeting phrases in the journal. Each mention of his mother's name was accompanied by wistful admiration and lingering heartbreak. He understood that uncovering the truth about her was key to fully understanding his father's life and ultimately his own. With this clarity, Jamie began devising a plan. He recalled the name of the town his father once spoke of with reverent nostalgia, the same town where he had met the elderly woman. Perhaps she might have known more. He felt a firm resolve. He would return to the coastal town the following weekend, armed with questions and a thirst for knowledge. When Saturday dawned, Jamie set out once more, his heart racing with a mix of anxiety and excitement. The rhythmic sound of his bicycle tires against the pavement synced with his heartbeat as he pedaled faster, eager to reconnect with the threads of his past. Upon arriving at the quaint shop, the bell chimed cheerfully, welcoming him back like a long-lost friend. The elderly woman was arranging some trinkets, her smile lighting up her face as she spotted him. "Back again, I see," she said, her eyes sparkling with kindness. Jamie felt the warmth of her presence seep into his bones, fortifying his resolve. "Would you mind if I asked you about my mother this time?" Jamie ventured, his voice steadier than he felt. The question hung in the air like a sail waiting to catch the wind. The woman's smile faded slightly, replaced by a look of contemplation. "I remember your mother, yes," she said softly, her voice tinged with both warmth and sorrow. "Her name was Eliza. She was a beautiful spirit, full of dreams, much like your father." Jamie absorbed every word, envisioning a woman with laughter like a melody and eyes that sparkled like the sea. What happened to her? Why did she leave? His voice trembled with emotion, vulnerable and raw. "She loved your father deeply, but her own dreams pulled her away. Eliza always talked about wanting to travel the world, to find herself outside of these shores. Sometimes love isn't enough to keep two people together when their hearts are both yearning for different things," and the woman explained gently. Jamie felt the weight of those words echo within him. He could picture his mother, bold, free-spirited, enraptured by the world beyond the horizon. The journal had been right. She had been adventurous, but it also left him grappling with the pain of absent love. "And my father?" Jamie pressed. "Did he ever try to find her?" The woman nodded solemnly. "He tried. He set out on journeys every now and then, hoping to bring her back, but it was as if she had vanished into thin air. No one ever saw her again." The gentle cadence of her voice carried an echo of permanence, a reminder that sometimes questions remain unanswered, lingering like unfulfilled dreams. The emotional weight of this revelation hit Jamie harder than he had expected. His father had not only lost a partner, but had also been searching for a piece of himself. A profound connection began to form within him, a recognition that his mother's dreams had intertwined with his father's heart, shaping the man Jamie had never known. As he left the shop, the sunlight felt warm against his skin, but it was the heaviness in his chest that guided his steps toward the beach. He needed to think, to unravel the knots of emotion that intertwined within him. Once by the water's edge, Jamie watched the waves splash against the shore, mirroring the rhythm of his racing heart. He thought of his father's adventures and his mother's dreams, a tapestry woven from hopes, love, and loss. Each thought drifted like a single grain of sand, and slowly a sense of acceptance began to wash over him. He knelt down, letting the cool water lap at his feet, and gazed out at the endless horizon. It sparked a new resolve within him. He realized he was not merely a reflection of their choices, he was a continuation of their stories. With every heartbeat, Jamie could forge a new narrative that mingled their legacies within his own. In that moment, it became clear to Jamie that he could honor both his father and mother, embracing who they had been while carving out his own path filled with dreams, connections, and courage. He resolved to explore the world just as they had, to chase sunsets and seek adventures that would echo through time, intertwining his story with theirs while building something entirely his own. With purpose swelling in his chest, he stood tall against the wind, ready to step forward into a life brimming with possibility. He would ensure the love that had once bound his parents remained alive within him, not as a relic of pain, but as a beacon of hope guiding him through each new chapter. And perhaps, just perhaps, one day he would discover a path that led him back to the remnants of their dreams, unearthing the spirit of their shared adventures while creating a legacy uniquely his. As days turned into weeks, Jamie returned to the coastal town often, each visit deepening his connection to the stories that had once felt so distant. It was as if the town itself recognized him now, like an old friend welcoming him back home. The warm sunlight and salty breeze felt like a constant embrace, softly whispering reassurances that he was not alone. Jamie had discovered that he could find joy in the quest for understanding, and each moment spent there added new brushstrokes to the canvas of his family's history. On one particular afternoon, as he wandered along the beach, Jamie felt a familiar tug in his heart, a call to reflect on everything he had learned. He approached a spot where the sun lingered low, casting magical golden rays across the water. He sat on the same weathered bench he had found on his first day, its wood warm under him, and leaned back to watch the waves shimmer like diamonds. In that quiet moment, memories of his father and mother intertwined like threads in a tapestry. He thought of the woman who had once longed for adventure and the man who had devoted his heart to her. Jamie understood now. Their dreams lived on through him, and it was time to honor that legacy fully. This realization blossomed in his chest, igniting a fire of purpose. It was time for him to create his own legacy, one that merged their aspirations with his own. That night, Jamie returned home with a mission. He had long pondered his own dreams, wanting to explore the world, connect with people, and share his journey through storytelling, much like his father had done. He began jotting down ideas in a notebook, combining fragments from his father's journal with his own aspirations. He envisioned sharing his adventures, not only as a quest for visibility, but also as a way to bridge the past with the present. As weeks passed, Jamie worked diligently, compiling his thoughts and experiences into a cohesive narrative. Every word flowed from him like the ocean's tide, receding and advancing. He filled pages with hopes and dreams, weaving in his parents' stories alongside his own. It transformed into something beautiful, a testament to familial love and resilience. He titled it Echoes of Dreams, a nod to the legacy left to him by those who had come before. One sunny Saturday, with a stack of neatly bound copies in hand, Jamie rode back to the coastal town. He felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as he approached the old shop where he had first connected with his father's past. He could still remember the voices of laughter and heartwarming stories that had filled that space. It had become a sacred site for him. As he entered, the bell chimed, announcing his arrival. The elderly woman looked up, her eyes widening in recognition and joy. "Back so soon? You must have found more stories," she exclaimed. Jamie smiled, hesitating for a moment. "Actually, I've been working on something of my own," he said, holding out a copy of his book. "It's called Echoes of Dreams. It's about my journey, about my parents and me." Taking the book, the woman's eyes glistened with unshed tears as she swept her gaze across the cover, then looked back at Jamie. "Oh, dear boy, what a wonderful tribute." She flipped through the pages, her fingers tracing the lines as she absorbed each story, each detail woven from love and memory. "I want to share it with the people in the town," he continued, feeling emboldened. "I want them to know my father's story, our story. Maybe it can inspire others just as your stories inspired me." "Of course, Ni," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. "They'll want to hear this. I'll help you organize a reading. It's about time too that the hearts intertwine. Your family and this town. The story is a bridge after all." Jamie felt his heart swell as she spoke. They quickly sorted through the logistics, agreeing on a date within the next week. The excitement that stirred in him almost overwhelmed him, but it was accompanied by a quiet understanding that this reading was not merely about him, but about a healing that extended beyond time and space. On the day of the reading, the sun poured down generously, illuminating the coastal town in a warm glow. Jamie arrived early to set up in the small park near the shop. A few locals gathered, curious about the event. As he arranged chairs beneath the shade of a grand old tree, memories of his father's laughter and love enveloped him. When the time finally came, Jamie took a deep breath. He stood in front of the small crowd, holding Echoes of Dreams tightly, the journal resting at his side. He looked into the faces before him. These were people who had linked to his past, who had known the essence of his father. With a trembling voice, Jamie began to read excerpts from his book, sharing his family's story and his own journey of reflection and acceptance. The crowd listened, enraptured, and he could feel the emotions in the air, connections forming anew with every word spoken. As the tales flowed, Jamie saw the flicker of recognition in the audience's eyes, understanding that this was more than a reading. It was a celebration of life, love, dreams, and shared experiences. As he finished, applause erupted. Faces brightened, and several locals stepped forward, sharing their memories of Jack, recalling moments that Jamie had never known, filling in gaps with anecdotes that breathed life into his understanding. Finally, the woman who had inspired Jamie from the very beginning approached him, a smile beaming on her face. "I knew it would resonate, dear boy. your words have rekindled the spirits of those we love. You have woven their dreams into a vibrant tapestry. In the days that followed, Jamie felt a profound transformation. Through sharing his story, he had found an unexpected community, an extended family comprised of those who had loved his father, who understood the aching experiences of loss like he did. Each interaction added another layer to his understanding of love, grief, and resilience. During one particular afternoon walk along the beach, Jamie sat upon the familiar bench again, watching the waves collide against the shore. Standing firm with each crashing wave, they mirrored his growth. He had planted roots where once there was only uncertainty. As he gazed at the horizon, he felt the essence of his parents guiding him, each breeze carrying whispers of encouragement, reminding him that he was not merely the sum of their histories, but an individual who had the power to create his own legacy. With pen in hand, he wrote a final note in his journal, one where he promised himself and the spirits of those he loved that he would carry their dreams forward, echoing them for future generations. He would remain open to new adventures, connection, and discovery, forging an ever-deepening bond with the tapestry of love that those before him had woven. In that moment, he understood that all a child ever truly needs is to be heard, and he vowed to let his voice soar, filling the spaces once filled by silence with music, dreams, and hope that would ripple through time. While Jamie had found a profound sense of belonging and purpose through sharing his and his parents' stories, he felt an insistent pull to embark on a larger journey, one that would take him beyond the familiarity of his coastal town. Inspired by the connections he had formed, he envisioned a quest to explore various towns across the country, eager to uncover the stories of those that had come before him and those who walked beside him. One bright morning, the sun streaming through his window ignited a spark within him. It was time for action. Jamie decided he would travel, moving from town to town and engaging with strangers, listening to their stories. This became a mission of sorts, not only to share his narrative, but to collect and weave the experiences of many into a rich tapestry of resilience and hope. Over the next week, he immersed himself in research, mapping out routes and identifying places known for their rich histories and vibrant communities. The sense of anticipation grew within him as he prepared for the journey ahead. He packed a small backpack with essentials, his journal, recording devices for capturing audio notes, and a few changes of clothes. With a heart full of excitement and determination, he set out on his adventure, ready to uncover the heartbeats of the people he would meet along the way. His first stop brought him to a quaint town nestled against rolling hills, teeming with life and bustling with activity. As Jamie strolled along the main street, the warm greetings of friendly faces enveloped him like a comforting embrace. He ventured into a local cafe, struck up conversations with patrons, and shared snippets of his own story. It was there that he met a widow reminiscing about her late husband, a young artist pursuing her dreams amidst doubt, and a retired teacher reflecting on decades of joy spent in the classroom. Each exchange enriched him, with their voices intertwining to create a rich understanding of love, grief, and human resilience. With a notebook in hand, Jamie listened intently, documenting their stories. He found beauty in the authenticity of their experiences as they spoke candidly about their joys and sorrows. With every interaction, he felt the transformative power of connection take root within his heart. Their experiences became part of his narrative, intertwining with his own and enriching it with colors he had yet to discover. They offered him a glimpse into the universal truth that pain could metamorphose into wisdom, and that dreams could soar above the weight of life's trials. As Jamie continued his travels, he distributed copies of Echoes of Dreams in each town he visited, inviting others to read and share their insights in return. In turn, locals gifted him heartfelt notes filled with encouragement and personal anecdotes. A woven narrative began to emerge, filled with intricate threads that connected them all. This shared storytelling transformed Jamie's journey into a vibrant community, a tapestry of voices that spanned backgrounds and experiences, a celebration of interconnectedness. One magical night, during a lantern festival held in a picturesque town, Jamie joined new friends he had met on his journey. Together they lit lanterns and sent their wishes into the night sky, watching as they floated upward like glowing dreams materializing before their eyes. As Jamie stood among them, he felt a sense of belonging wash over him, illuminating his heart. These moments crystallized the connections he had nurtured, revealing the beautiful symphony created by the ensemble of hopes and dreams surrounding him. As the months passed, Jamie developed a routine of recording audio notes of the conversations he held. His device captured laughter, the nuances of voices, and emotional resonances that illuminated the rawness of shared experiences. Every story he gathered was a thread woven into the fabric of life, emphasizing the importance of understanding and sharing the journeys of those he met. It was a way for him to preserve their voices, ensuring they echoed in his narrative and beyond. Throughout his travels, Jamie discovered the resilience carried by everyone he encountered. He learned that behind every smile often hid silent battles, struggles that, when shared, turned into sources of strength. Each friend he made added vibrancy to his narrative, as stories highlighted the common threads of hope, heartbreak, and healing that unite humanity. The depth of connection, forged through vulnerability, transformed his journey into an adventure filled with meaning. As his travels began to draw to a close, Jamie returned home, enriched with perspectives from countless souls. The metamorphosis he had undergone became a testament to the beauty of shared stories and the celebration of life intertwined. With every voice he had gathered, Jamie felt a surge of gratitude, realizing that within this growing tapestry lay not just his story, but the entire spectrum of human experience. Reflecting on his adventure, Jamie penned a new chapter in his journal, expanding upon echoes of dreams to include the voices he had collected. He envisioned a project that would bring their narratives to life, creating a platform that invited others to share their stories, thus forming a rich collective conversation. He wanted to amplify these voices and allow their experiences to resonate beyond the confines of his journey. Standing once again at the edge of the beach, with the waves crashing before him, Jamie felt a familiar warmth enveloping him. The spirits of his parents swirled in the wind, whispering encouragement. He understood now that he was not merely a product of their legacy, but a continuation, a vessel through which so many diverse stories flowed. Those he had met on his journey had become part of his story, adding layers of understanding and empathy. In this profound moment, Jamie vowed to carry the dreams he had gathered into the future. He remained committed to illuminating the many paths he had the privilege to tread, while ensuring that every voice, much like his own, would not only be heard but celebrated. The stories he had collected became a springboard, a launchpad from which he could inspire others to share, to listen, and to connect in a world that yearned for understanding. As he stood firm against the surf's rhythm, Jamie envisioned the ripples of connection spreading outwards, echoing the sentiments and emotions of everyone who dared to dream. With a heart full of hope and purpose, he embraced his new role as a storyteller, prepared to illuminate the countless paths ahead. Each heartbeat, each story woven into the expansive tapestry called life, reminded him that for all children and every soul, to be heard is a precious gift that transforms silence into a symphony of understanding and love. As Jamie stood at the edge of the beach, the crashing waves reflected the narrative of his journey thus far. Each wave was a story, a representation of the ebb and flow of life, filled with moments of turbulence and calm. With the salty breeze brushing against his cheeks, he felt a renewed sense of resolve. Now, it was time to put his vision of connection into action. With the ink still fresh in his journal, Jamie began drafting plans for echoes of dreams beyond mere pages of written word. He saw it transforming into a community event where people could gather not only to hear stories, but to participate in sharing their own. It would become a space for dialogue, culture, and mutual understanding. Visualizing the event filled him with excitement, motivation coursing through his veins like the very waves crashing against the shore. He imagined a series of storytelling nights, held outdoors beneath the stars, where the soft glow of lanterns would emulate the light his journey had brought into the world. Jamie could picture it. Individuals from every walk of life coming together, young students, elders, parents, and those who had weathered storms of loss like he had. Each person would come armed with their stories, ready to be heard and to resonate in a community eager to share in the tapestry of human experience. Determined to promote this event, Jamie took to social media, creating posts that invited people to participate, share their own stories, and spread the word to their networks. He crafted heartfelt messages, conveying the importance of connection and participation, hoping to ignite a sense of curiosity in others. "We all have dreams," he wrote. "We all have stories that echo within us. Let's come together to listen, to share, and to celebrate our journeys." The response was overwhelming. People began to reach out, expressing excitement and eagerness to be part of this burgeoning community. Jamie met local artists who offered to paint a mural to capture the essence of their stories, musicians who volunteered to perform, and poets who were inspired to write pieces for the event. Each individual brought their unique experiences, reinforcing Jamie's vision that this was not just about one voice, but a symphony of many. On the day of the first storytelling night, the atmosphere was electric, the air charged with anticipation. Jamie arrived at the beach early, lighting lanterns and setting up cozy seating arrangements that respected the natural surroundings. The sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet, welcoming the darkness that would soon blanket them. As the stars twinkled into view, they mirrored the dreams and hopes being shared. As the first storyteller stepped forward, Jamie felt his heart race. Each story was met with the kind of rapt attention that reaffirmed why he had embarked on this journey in the first place: the pure joy of connecting with others. Laughter filled the air during moments of joy, while hushed silence enveloped the crowd when tales of hardship and resilience flowed through the speaker's words. Each narrative wove its way into the collective fabric of the community gathered, reaffirming the purpose that flowed through Jamie's veins. As the night unfolded, Jamie realized that the true magic was not just in the stories shared, but in the community that emerged. Conversations sparked between listeners and storytellers, new friendships formed, and connections solidified as people bonded over shared experiences of loss, love, and dreams. It was as if a long-lost sense of togetherness had returned to the very fabric of their being. By the end of the night, as the last lantern shimmered in the soft breeze, Jamie felt a profound sense of accomplishment. He had not only facilitated a platform for stories to be shared, but had also ignited a flame of unity in a world often overshadowed by silence. In that moment, he understood the echoes of dreams were not simply confined to pages, but lived in the hearts of the community he had helped cultivate. As he looked out at the group of people gathered under the starlit sky, Jamie felt his parents' spirits enveloping him, pride radiating through him. He realized he had become more than just a vessel. He had become a beacon of hope, illuminating paths for others. This was just the beginning. The stories shared tonight would weave together to create a saga of resilience and love, a foundation for future gatherings. Jamie understood that this was not merely a project, it was a legacy. And as the last embers of the night faded, he smiled softly, aware that his journey would continue to evolve, intertwined with the myriad lives he would touch along the way, each echoing their own dreams into a brighter tomorrow. In a world yearning for connection, Jamie had discovered an unbreakable bond with others, one that would guide him through the chapters yet to be written.